So hello everyone, so I was talking about how the neurodiversity paradigm is being hijacked by, or co-opted by employers out to make a profit within the capitalist framework. Only the right kind of neurodivergence is allowed. Whenever they're talking about neurodivergence being a benefit, they do not have people like me in mind. You can imagine how that makes people like me feel. But anyway, let's keep our critical hats on now. So, psychology today, the rise of neurodiversity at work. Here, this article says that true diversity of thought on a team can provide a competitive advantage. Just focus on that a moment. Let that sink in. Just critically deconstruct a competitive advantage. In the so-called talent wars. So yes, clearly the right kind of neurodiversity, it seems, is good for capitalism. That's interesting. I didn't think disability was ever before seen as good for capitalism, but bear in mind this is not the type of disability that leaves you unable to work. It's cherry picking those people who do have something profitable that can be milked. It's entrenching inequality through the smokescreen of diversity. Capitalism is great at doing that. It loves diversity, diversifying inequality. Because you have to have some at the top, and you have to have some at the bottom. We can't all be equal. No. Shock horror, we just cannot. Capitalism needs a hierarchy, and it needs to have those that it can exploit. So, moving on. So this article, rather ironically, talks about replacing outdated stereotypes with a more inclusive framework. Replacing outdated stereotypes while it creates new ones. Hooray! So it's very ironic because these same articles are actually creating new stereotypes, outperforming neurotypicals. You can't get more stereotypical than that, can you? Apparently, this is great. If you're neurodivergent, you have got the upper hand. Hooray for neurodivergents. They have superpowers. They're gonna save the world. So that's what's ironic. New stereotypes here. Positive stereotypes, mind. And then it goes on about top business people, such as Richard Branson and Elon Musk, demonstrating the awesome potential. You can't make this up, right? The awesome potential. Awesome potential of those who think differently. Hooray! It's amazing, isn't it? Yes. I don't think they have in mind someone with an intellectual disability who can't talk and needs 24/7 assistance when they talk about the awesome potential of those who think differently, and they clearly do not have people like me in mind. Definitely not. I can tell you that much. We can't be milked. That's it. We can't be milked, so we're not valuable. Yeah, it's very ironic, isn't it? They say replacing outdated stereotypes, but they've just in that very sentence created a new, really toxic stereotype. It's so ironic, you can't even make it up. So the next article I came is actually very critical of the ones I've just talked about, which is wokescientist.com. Capitalism loves neurodiversity as long as it's profitable. So basically exactly what I was just saying. It's great to find an article that was reconfirming what I was already thinking, which is really great when you get that. Feels quite validating. So this article talks about how capitalism is further diversifying oppressive systems. Diversifying oppressive systems. So capitalism loves diversity, but the right kind of diversity. Diversity is a great aid to capitalism because it means that people are less likely to challenge capitalism. By kind of making it out as though capitalism is on the side of diversity, it makes it harder for capitalism, it makes it harder for people to rally against capitalism. Capitalism is not on the side of diversity. Capitalism is on the side of conformity. You have to toe the line. I mean, hell, being anti-capitalist is diversity, but that's not the type of diversity you're talking about, is it? No. I think differently. I'm anti-capitalist, but no. That's not the type of thinking differently they have in mind. But anyway, so it says here, capitalism here is co-opting the lingo to co-opting for lingo. So in other words, co-opting for sort of more progressive elements of a neurodiversity paradigm. Because don't forget, although I'm very critical of a neurodiversity paradigm, I do accept that there are parts of it that are progressive. It's not like, there are parts of it that are progressive, and we mustn't forget that. So whenever we're being critical about the neurodiversity framework, we have to, it's not like throwing a baby out of the bathwater, to use a metaphor. It's, there are parts of the neurodiversity movement that are progressive, and we want to hang on to those. But obviously it's highly problematic, the neurodiversity movement, which is why we need to be critical, highly critical. And capitalism co-opts the lingo of the neurodiversity paradigm to delude consumers into thinking that a company is ethical while it continues to exploit people, land and nature for profit. This happens a lot, by the way. Capitalism is great at co-option. It did it with the feminist movement. It's done it with climate change. It does it with... it did it with the hippie movement. The hippie movement, or rather, I should say the wider civil rights movement was heavily corrupted by capitalism. It co-opts pride. Gay pride has been co-opted by capitalism. Anything that can be co-opted, it will co-opt to make a profit and to spread lies about it being on the side of the oppressed when it's never been on the side of the oppressed. And it cherry picks the most advantaged out of those groups. So in this case, those people with various conditions who do have something to give to capitalism, it cherry picks them to make a point that is on the side of diversity, while it doesn't give a crap about people like me. And reality is, it is not on the side of diversity. Let's not kid ourselves. So this article talks about how now is the time for the hot trend of increasing awareness about neurodivergence to be co-opted, as neurodivergence is an expanding micro-identity that opens up new consumer and a worker base to exploit. It only values us if we're productive, obedient workers. You have to earn the right to live. So capitalism doesn't see people as like intrinsically valuable and deserving a right to live no matter what. You have to earn your right to live. That's why you get benefits, not a universal income, because you have to earn you either have to earn your right to exist, or you have to be seen as deserving and prove yourself, and then you get a benefit. The very word benefit implies, it's a token that it can be taken away, as opposed to something that you should get regardless. So it's all based upon rewards and contingency, capitalism. It's very unstable, causes a lot of stress for people. You're valued only when you serve the financial interests of companies, which is why disabled people and their carers are not valued in capitalism, and why carers are not treated with respect, and why people who work in the care industry get paid so little because they're not seen as profitable. Likewise, disabled people, unless they can be exploited, unless you have the right type of disability, are seen as not profitable, so therefore just disposable, basically. As it says here, capitalism will never care about neurodivergence, or neurodiversity, whatever you want to call it, because oppressive systems work by forcing people to conform and assimilate to standards set by rich, People who diverge from the norms are punished and manipulated to fall back in line, and one way to do this is to make conformity seem appealing. In order for oppressive systems to evolve with the times, neoliberalism tries to improve the optics so people don't ever get too mad to revolt against the system. So only what kind of divergence is tolerated is the palatable divergence. And this is deeply dehumanising rhetoric, because it's very clear that you're only valuable when you can increase revenue to companies that all engage in violent and unethical business practices. For example, the big banks that led to the 2008 economic crash, or arms manufacturers. So yeah, these very companies who are trying to diversify their labour force, just to essentially milk people for profit and to reduce any threat to their oppressive workings by selling lies about how great they are with diversity and everything. These very companies are actually making life harder for people who are disabled, where they're making life harder for everyone, but particularly because, let's face it, climate change is going to be particularly bad for the poorest and the most marginalised people in society. Yeah, but they don't give a crap about that. So basically getting some sections of the neurodivergent people to oppress other neurodivergent people. How great can it be? People who diverge most severely from norms will always be unproductive and are never going to benefit from the neurodiversity programs. They target most palatable forms of divergence that can still be coached into assimilating into capitalism oppressive system. Its advantages some more than others, and banks on these people upholding the system. So they look for people with solid credentials, which is basically the privilege to access higher education, so there is blatant classism involved in this as well. At least you're not cleaning cafeterias, so the rhetoric goes. As if there's anything wrong with cleaning cafeterias, people should be paid far more to clean cafeterias, because that is proper work, that is. They should be paid the most, but inverse logic of labour and all that. Highly capable. They're said to be highly capable. Despite having solid credentials, they had previously had to settle for the kind of job many people leave behind in high school. So yeah, classism at work there, obviously looking down on people who clean cafeterias, it's classism at work there. So they accommodate some people who they deem useful to further their financial and political interests, while seeing everyone else as not really worthy and just basically spitting down on them. But that's capitalism for you. So let me know what you think, and thank you for watching.